This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices settled higher on Friday but posted a weekly loss of 8.1% after news of potential increases to OPEC plus supply. Brent crude futures closed up 42 cents, or 0.7%, at $64.53 a barrel buy, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was up 40 cents, or 0.7%, at $60.88. For the week, Brent fell 8.1%, the largest weekly loss in over 3 months. WTI tumbled 7.4% in the week. The expected increase in OPEC plus production in the Iraq-Kurdish pipeline beginning to flow after being shut in the past 2 years is keeping sellers present in crude, said Dennis Kissler, Senior Vice President of Trading at Bach Financial.
Russia's energy ministry is not currently considering a diesel export ban for producers, it said on Friday. Russia is facing fuel shortages after a spate of Ukrainian attacks on its refineries. Earlier this week, Russia imposed a partial ban on diesel exports, covering marine fuel and other gas oils, for resellers, while producers remain exempt. It also extended a gasoline export ban, which applies to all exporters, until year-end.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Exports of U.S. crude oil climbed to the highest level in over a year and a half in September, ship tracking data showed, as U.S. refineries began seasonal maintenance and Asian demand increased. U.S. crude exports rose to an average of 4.2 million barrels per day in September, the highest since February 2024, according to data from ship tracking firm Capeler. Exports had eased in July to their lowest levels in nearly 4 years on low domestic supplies and as Asian and European buyers found cheaper alternatives. The spread between global benchmark Brent and U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures widened in August, when the bulk of the trades for September were executed, averaging -$3.79, the widest in 4 months. A wider spread makes it more attractive to economically ship barrels across the Atlantic.
Poland said on Friday that its plan to link to a NATO pipeline network, which is designed to supply troops with fuel in the event of war, will cost 20 billion zlotys, $5.5 billion. Earlier in the day, the ministry and Polish pipeline operator PERN signed a preliminary deal to extend the country's pipelines to connect them to the NATO system. We are talking about construction of pipelines over a distance of 300 kilometers. We are talking about one of the largest investments in the security of the Polish state in the last 30 years, Deputy Defense Minister Cezary Tomczyk said. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Indonesia on Friday urged the European Union to immediately remove the countervailing and anti-dumping duties on its stainless steel products, after a World Trade Organization panel backed the Southeast Asian country. The WTO panel on Thursday said the EU had acted inconsistently with some WTO rules in a dispute over its duties on stainless steel cold-rolled flat products from Indonesia and called on the bloc to bring its measures into conformity with an agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures. Indonesia's victory in this dispute is a major achievement in ensuring market access for Indonesian stainless steel in the EU and other countries. We urge the EU to respect the WTO panel's ruling and immediately lift the unlawful countervailing duties, Trade Minister Budi Santoso said in a ministry statement.
Copper hit a 16-month high on Friday and was poised to record its strongest week in more than a year as supply constraints and a softer dollar boosted prices. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange was up 2.2% at $10,719 per metric ton as of 1600 GMT and on course for a weekly gain of 5.3% that would mark its best week since September 2024. The metal, used in power and construction, earlier touched $10,765, the highest since May 2024, when it hit an all-time peak of $11,104.50.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Global food commodity prices dipped in September as declines in sugar and dairy offset a new peak for meat prices, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said on Friday. The FAO Food Price Index, which tracks a basket of internationally traded food commodities, averaged 128.8 points in September, down from a revised 129.7 in August. The index was up 3.4% on the same month last year, though nearly 20% down from a record level in March 2022 following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.